Go the ma'am and go the sir. I am Levi Camacho. I am the first student who will discuss about our research topic entitled Social Control and Ideological Obligation of Juvenile Delinquent in Mako, Davao de Oro. So our independent variable is social control, and our dependent variable is ideological obligation of juvenile delinquents in Mako, Davao de Oro. So by the way, we are group number Z2087. So shall we start? So the objective of our study, we find out whether a significant relationship exists between social control and ideological obligation of juvenile delinquents in Mako, Davao de Oro. So when we say ideological, it talks about ethics, ideals of the particular community, and political policy. Slide. So our theory of the study, critical lens, social control theory of Hershey, 1969, state that criminal behavior is controlled by four elements: attachment, commitment, involvement, and belief. Attachment indicates the strength of an individual connection to the accepted social system, such as attachment to their parents as the main socialization and social control agent, attachment to peer groups, schools, and community. Commitment refers to the manner and degree of one's investment in adhering to rules and norms, and subsequently one's assessment of the loss incurred by violating the law. This commitment includes long-term educational, occupation, or other conventional goals. Involvement refers to the particular participation in conventional activities such as studies, work, and hobbies. Involvement may be examined in terms of activities in school and whether parents and peer groups. So when we say commitment, it is an it is our connection. It is our connection to our community, especially to our parents, to our school. Exactly, in the community. So the fourth, according to Merton, 1957, that ideological delinquent are those non-conformists that really understood and advocate the values and understand in which they stand for, even if it is against the norm and the law. So according to Merton, ideological delinquent state that it is minors that do their daily routine habit by not knowing that it is against the law or policy of a particular community. So the main objective of ideological delinquent is to change the social norm in what seem fit to them, even if they simply any harsh and consequential retribution. They intend to commit crime in the name of their ideology while not abiding the law and justice system. So clear na kayo siya. Next slide. So conceptual framework, this will be discussed by Miss Rialyn Tirus.
Good day, ma'am and sir. I'm Rialyn Tirus from the group Z2087. Our research title is Social Control and Ideological Obligation on the Juvenile Delinquency, to be continued in conceptual framework. So in this study, framework is to associate social control and ideological obligation on the juvenile delinquency. From this study, we are able to obtain different revealing ideas. Communities that are more poorly organized may provide fewer opportunities for the youth to be involved in structured activities, thereby the impact of the involvement of youth and delinquency is high. The result of the study is beneficial to our society nowadays. So in this study shows the relationships, involvements, and to identify the cause of criminal behavior. It is important to find out what certain factors can contribute to a delinquent identity and what influence their unravel behavior. So from this study, we are be able to obtain different revealing ideas that help and beneficial to our society nowadays. This will help the society to be aware of the social control that is happening and to prevent youth to plunge into delinquency. Therefore, the present studies is an attempt to examine whether the control measures of attachment, commitment, involvement, and belief enumerated by Hershey in 1969 can explain whether the concept of social control theory may be used to explain violations of the law in cases that constitute a clash between ideology and obligation of the laws of the country in which one. So, and social control theory is widely used to determine youth delinquency that can be fully applied to understand the ideological illegal activities of youth and it stopped them from further breaking the law. Methodology participants. So this study employed quantitative research with the use of correlational analysis method that is suited to deep into understanding the relationships between social control and ideological obligation of juvenile delinquents. In order to get the desired result in this study, our respondents are consist of 300 participants, which was demographically selected from the municipality of Maco, Davao de Oro because of its ideal location with 37 barangays and its population of 83,237. In order to cover the desired participants, the availability of research materials and case incidents of juvenile delinquents that is present within the municipality. So the participants are consist of adolescents who demonstrate weak relationships with their family, no family attachment, and live in unstructured neighborhoods, no social control, out of social youth, social deprived, emotionally deprived, and lastly, a juvenile youth who experience going into jail with the exclusion of people from 18 above, not a resident of Maco, Davao de Oro, and those who have strong relationships with their families and reside in structured neighborhoods. So in this study, we as researchers, we utilize adapted research questionnaires that will be posted in Google form. For those who have devices or hand and printed questions to those participants who don't have any gadgets in order to gather responses and data related to the study. The questionnaire will be administered by the researchers, which will be accepted as the applicable way to raise data to answer the specific problem of the study. The committee will validate the question prior to the administration to the respondents. The adopted questions will be based on the title Social Control and Ideological Obligation of Juvenile Delinquents. The researchers will employ the quantitative research that involves accurate interpretation of findings.
Next, materials instruments. The first step to undergo in conducting the research is to seek permission from the Dean of College to facilitate the research process, after which the researchers will secure a letter to conduct study and for approval letter from the barangays of municipality of Mako Davao de Oro as respondents to allow them to carry out research in the area. In order to gather respondents, we asked certain permission to the deans and barangay captain by securing letter of approval to conduct research in their place and, of course, with the discrete information and profiling in every participants. Data was collected through questionnaires using correlational analysis to evaluate why social control and ideological obligation of juvenile delinquents are present in Mako Davao de Oro. Questionnaires were decided as the tool to conduct the research because of the following criteria: to ensure a high response rate as the questionnaires were administered and collected personally by the researcher to respondents, required shorter duration time to administer. They were given to the assurance that the answers would not be able to link their responses to them at the stage of data analysis, therefore ensuring anonymity. Lastly, the result will be analyzed and interpreted in the light and purposes of the study. By using correlational analysis, we can obtain our desired result in our research. By deploying questionnaires, we can acquire different revealing ideas toward our respondents. We can get varied answer and experience that can pave way in making this research possible. Design and procedure. The process of analyzing quantitative data is through the use of correlational analysis that involves looking for relationship between the independent variable, social control, and dependent variables determinant on ideological obligation of juvenile delinquents. By understanding and assessing the statistical relationship between social control and ideological obligation of juvenile delinquents with no influence from any extraneous variables. By the use of correlational coefficient that shows the correlation between the two variables, by using the statistical measure that calculates the strength of the relationship between two variables, a value measured between -1 and +1. When the correlation coefficient is close to +1, there is positive correlation between the two variables as one variable increases. The other variable also increases. For instance, the number of youth affected by social control is positively correlated with the increase of ideological obligation of juvenile. If the value is close to -1, there is a negative correlation between the two variables. As one variable increases, the other variable decreases. For example, there is a negative relationship between social control and ideological obligation of juvenile delinquents. This indicates that as social control in the community increases, the youth that practice ideological obligation of juvenile delinquents decreases. By the use of correlation coefficient that shows the correlation, and lastly, a change in one variable does not lead to any change in the other variable. Hence, an increase in youth affected by social control does not lead to any changes in the ideological obligation of juvenile delinquents.